Hello everyone, our story for today is about the plague that made people dance themselves to death. Let us begin. Our story begins in a hot July summer in 1518 when a German housewife named Frau Trophäa stepped out of her home in Strasbourg and started dancing to a music that no one else could hear. She danced in the streets all day and stopped for a few hours of restless sleep before waking the next day and started tapping her toes bloody again. A crowd began to form around this seemingly insane woman with bruised and bloody feet dancing to absolutely nothing and thought she was crazy. Soon, however, she wasn't alone. Lady Trophäa formed an entire dance troupe with roughly 30 others catching the jitterbug and joining her spontaneous dance-off. Then, the infected kept on increasing and eventually, Lady Trophäa had a full marching band dancing with her. The dancing plague, as it was eventually labeled, spread to the people of Strasbourg with estimates of as high as 400 people involuntary dancing to absolutely nothing. It quickly grew into a full-grown crisis that the city council had no clue how to manage. It was a full medieval rave where hundreds of people were dancing on the streets day and night. The only thing they could agree on was these groovy dancers were not having a groovy time. The dancers were in obvious pain, screaming in agony and begging for mercy from whatever bizarre affliction they were suffering from. As the summer stretched on and the temperatures rose, one by one, people started dying while dancing. Fresh out of ideas on how to handle this problem themselves, the city council consulted with local physicians to diagnose the problem and shut it down for good. The medieval doctors diagnosed the dancing maniacs with a probable case of hot blood. Hot blood was a problem with the balance in a person's humor. In a case of hot blood, doctors believed that the brain would overheat, which in turn would cause madness. The normal cure at that time would have been bloodletting. However, given that the infected victims were unable to voluntarily stop moving, physically removing blood regardless of the temperature wasn't a feasible course of action to take, so the medieval doctors instead prescribed even more dancing. They hired professional musicians to get the crowd hyped, and brought in extras to mix up the energy of this lame party in hopes of exhausting the dancers. As the exhausted dancers were beginning to stumble and slow down, the musicians didn't play slow music to cool down the hype. Instead, they sped up the tempo, causing the town people to move even faster with the music. But it wasn't long before the marathon started to take its toll. Many dancers collapsed from sheer exhaustion. Some even died from strokes and heart attacks, and the rest still kept dancing. The city council realized that having this giant block of party to burn out the afflicted wasn't the solution to this problem. Clearly, these poor infected victims were not suffering from hot blood. It was obviously a curse on the city sent as a warning to repent for their sins. So the city council thought, if this was a curse, then sins should have to be eviscerated from within the walls of Strasbourg. They shut down gambling houses and abolished brothels to halt gambling and prostitution. The city also gathered up loose people and those with bad reputation and banished them from the city. But the dance plague kept on hustling. More people were getting infected and more people kept dying. Still not knowing on how to solve the problem, the city council outlawed dancing, taking on a fine of 30 shillings for anyone caught moving their body to a beat. They also banned music with the exception of string music for weddings, but they are on their conscience not to use tambourines and drums. The municipal archive reported drums became the most dangerous instrument in Strasbourg since it allegedly triggered the strange epidemic. Over a month has passed since patient zero started dancing, and in spite of all Strasbourg's best efforts, the epidemic still continued. As dancers continued to wave their hands in the air and scream in agony, the city continued to search for a cure for these poor souls. Running out of ideas on how to stop the curse, the city gave an unconventional method a shot. They piled all of those inflicted with dancing fever onto wagons and carted them up a mountain to a shrine of Saint Vitus, the child who was martyred in year 303 by being tossed into a cauldron of boiling lead and tar, then being fed into a hungry lion, but miraculously came out unharmed and earning his sainthood. Saint Vitus had a reputation for healing illness, particularly ones with trembling limbs, which made praying to him for assist make sense. Dancers continued to fall on the altar, so the priest gave a mass over them and handed out little crosses and red shoes which had been blessed with holy oil on both the tops and the soles. The red holy soaked shoes apparently worked like a charm.
In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti.
The affliction seemed to break and the dancing party slowly came to an end. The remaining survivors regained control over their body. The time of the dancing plague soon became known as Saint Vitus Dance, either because the saint had cured the dancers or caused the whole thing to punish the sinners of Strasbourg.